You downloaded the app, you popped it open, you got your pencil, and you brought it up to this main screen. This main screen is only going to have 3 things on it. You're not going to have as many projects as I am because I've already been doing this for a little while. You'll have 2 tests. I know when I first opened this app, I'm looking at it going, how could anybody create that? It looks so clean, so perfect, so blah. But it's really not as hard as it looks. So let's dig in. You want to start a new project from scratch. So you're going to hit the plus button. Now they have different sizes. If you want to do like an Instagram reel, definitely choose the social because that's going to give you the top down. But if you're looking for more long form YouTube videos, definitely go here. If you want to go with something more theatrical, definitely hit this one. Today we're going to be working within this. So this automatically works inside of 24 frames per second, set at 30 seconds long. We're doing a very short animation. I'm going to change this to 5 seconds. Oops, not 55. I'm going to change this to 5 seconds long because I don't want to do more than that. I'm going to be drawing. So if I already had a project in hand, I'd go ahead and hit empty so I could upload it over from Procreate, but I don't have that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit draw. Draw is going to bring me to this blank canvas with already 1 frame in place. And that brings me to this front page. So there's a couple of things. There's the play button, which plays the entire clip from beginning to end. The record button, which I'll show you how to use in a second. So we're going to start by drawing. And I'm going to double tap as close as I can to this to get 1 single frame. And I'm going to do frame by frame to start. So I'm going to just slide this down so I have this little canvas. No, this does not get any smaller. I know it's annoying, but this square gets smaller once you zoom it out. What this square is your frame of the camera, which you're going to be working inside of. So you can draw outside of all this and then bring it over into the camera, which is an amazing tool, which I'll show you momentarily. But right now we're just going to work inside. So I'm just going to do a simple animation of a stick figure. I'm going to draw his legs and he's going to be running, right? His arm is kind of up. This one is kind of down because he's mid-stride. And then I'm going to go to the next frame. And this is cool. This is onion skinning. If you're new to animation, onion skinning is just showing you the previous frame and the frame ahead of it. Onion skinning is going to be important momentarily. We're going to work on 3 key frames, which means that it's going to be the major poses of this character. And I'm not going to move him. I'm going to keep him right where he is. And I can show you why. I'm going to go ahead and draw him in kind of the launching position, and he's got some really wonky legs. It's okay. He was just special. I'm going to kind of draw him landing on that. Right? And then the last frame I think I need is him kind of like halfway in between. Excuse me. Right. And I'm very picky. Oh, what happened to his foot? Wow. And I'm kind of very picky about how my feet look, right? I'm going to go back to watch kind of what I have. And if you zoom into it, it's going to stay at that frame rate, right? It kind of looks like wacky, and this is okay. This is merely an example. This is not my best of work. You can see some of my better work in my channel. What I did here is I drew the basic keyframing of him running. So this is where 24 frames per second comes in really handy. I'm going to animate on something called 2s and 3s. What does that mean? That just means that I'm going to hold this frame for 2 frames. And to get this to work without, some of you are going to go, it's not letting me go any further than this. I just tapped the corner, put my finger down, and drag across. And that moves everything for you. So you don't have to sit there and move each one individually. Procreate's already done that for you. And I'm going to hold this for 2 frames. So when you're animating on 24 frames per second, this turns actually into 12 frames per second. So you see how it kind of slows down for a second and then he gets fast like he's hipping it. So now I'm going to draw the in-between frames. I'm going to move him over just a little bit because I want to be able to see the in-between of them all. And I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to draw again. And that drawing has something called onion skinning. So go ahead and hit that time button. And in that time button has onion skinning. And each onion skinning, you'll have the backwards and the forwards. So the forwards, I'm going to make red. The backwards, I'm going to make pink. And I'm only going to say, I want to see 1 frame. So that's backwards, that's forwards. So I can technically come in here and say, I want him, right? His leg was up. I want it to come down just not as much, but like halfway here. And this one is also going to swing in just a little bit, right? His arm is going to come down. His arm is going to come down. So now, when I go back, I got the in-between. Now it's a little funky because I moved him forward. So I'm going to move him backwards again. Bring him back to the mark, right? Now that's going really fast. I'm going to slow him down a little bit with that trick. Now that I've got him from point A to point B, I'm going to take the selection tool and I'm going to select all of this. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to make this into a group by holding it down with my finger or with my stylus, doesn't matter, and add a group. Right, and I'll create a new track. You can get rid of this bottom one if you're type A like I am, but I'm going to duplicate this again because I want him to have a continuous run cycle. Right, so I'm going to duplicate it twice. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to group these again. I know it seems silly, but you'll see why in a second. So I'm going to start at the beginning. I'm going to move him outside of my lens, and then I'm going to bring him in with this record button. Right, and his run is kind of wonky, but it's okay. He's a little special. More complicated like I have in some of these videos where you're moving everything from one side to the other in a nice smooth basis. This is what you can do with Procreate. So what I started by doing, went and I drew my simple character. And I did this in Procreate because Dreams does not have the option yet to do perfect shaping. So I went and I drew in my perfect shapes. And I started with this character by, in particular, I put his legs on separate layers so that when I went to manipulate this, I was able just to turn his leg out, come onto the layer with a leg. And when you're working with solid colors, it is super, super easy to animate a walk cycle because you have to do half the steps because it's really just an eye trick. Because you can't tell the difference really between the left and the right leg when you're walking, it's just a matter of animating 5 instead of 8 or 9. All I basically did was create this walk cycle. And again, I moved the leg and then I came out here and I drew over the top to make it look like he's got a knee, brought it down. That's 2 frames, right? And then the other leg is starting to pass. That's the passing frame coming up, and then it loops back to that leg being up. So you don't really see the difference between the left and the right leg. You're doing half the time. So when his foot is up, his body is kind of higher up. But as he takes a step, you're going to see his body shift a little bit down. And then his head is going to kind of follow suit, right? And then when he goes up, his head's still kind of in that down position, and he's going to bob his head up. That gives a sense of weight of the character. Not only does weight have to do with the way your character will bounce, but it also has to do with his stride and how fast he's walking. So if I animate it on 1, there's this guy. He does not look all like he's got that much weight. He's very quick and limber on his feet. Whereas if I added that first frame, so he's kind of taking this long step and then a little bit shorter on the way down and through, you holding those frames, it'll give this kind of casual stride, right? Now, if I took away that long step and I made it exactly the same as the others, he's moving a little bit faster. He's not as heavy, not as relaxed. He's kind of in a rush. So spacing has to do everything, not only with weight, but with the way that you want this animation to feel. But all of those things are on different layers, so I can just move them. So if you want a quick walk cycle, animate your character on a solid color. It makes it so much easier than having to go through and do all this line art. You want to figure out how to get your file from Procreate to Procreate Dreams. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe if you want to see more of these videos. Otherwise, let's get into it. Awesome thing about Procreate is that you can export right from Procreate into Procreate Dreams. There's one little minor step. So I have drawings, lots of drawings in Procreate, and I want to be able to transfer from Procreate to Procreate Dreams. Now, when you go like you would normally to go and share your content, you're not going to hit JPEG, you're not going to hit any of these, you're going to hit Procreate. Makes sense. It's one Procreate to another Procreate, just Dreams. And you're going to save to files. For this purpose, I'm going to do trainer for all of you out there. And we're going to save this inside of trainer. We're just going to hit save. Saves the Procreate file, very easy, very clean. You're going to go back over to your Procreate Dreams. When you create a project, choose your size. In this video, we're going to be using the widescreen at 24 frames per second and hit empty, because we don't want anything in there. We've already got some of the animation from Procreate. We're going to go ahead and hit files. Next thing I wanted to talk about was fill duration. Say I wanted a white background for that whole 30 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and add a track, right? I'm going to come in here in that track. I'm going to say, I want to fill this backdrop with the color brown. I'm going to drag it in there. that only fills one frame, and then you have to sit there for the entire 30 seconds and drag it along. I'm even having trouble with it now, dragging and dragging. You know, at 24 frames per second, that's a lot of dragging. Hit fill duration, fills to the end of the 30 seconds, and you just saved yourself about 15 minutes of headache. Here are 3 things that are going to help you in Procreate Dreams to better your animation within it. As you can tell if you've ever opened this app, there are things that Procreate hid and didn't make it easy for you as the user to be able to do. Number 1, masking has been one of the most time-saving tips that I've found within Procreate Dreams. So masking is the ability to have this sentence go across that black frame without having to erase each individual layer. So how is this done? Within this group of layers, I have the cow, which I've grouped together, which is dead. I want to call it an Oculus. The VR headset as a separate layer, but I also have that black square and this text. I've already done my keyframes for this text layer. This text layer is going to go from point A to point B. And I want it to go across the second layer of the black screen. But I don't want to sit there and erase it all because it's going to take forever, especially when you're going frame by frame by frame. You're going to have to split those. You're going to have to do each. Way too much time. Procreate Dreams has already done this kind of in advance for you. What do I mean by that? If you were to hold down that layer and you hit clip mask, it's going to take that bottom layer and it automatically confines it to that one space. Number 2, keyframe recording. Keyframe recording is the ability to take your track, lift it up with your pen, and drag it along, and it automatically records. Now, I've gone over some of this in my latest video, but this is actually a very helpful trick when you want, let's say, the bot to have a more natural look. And I didn't like it at first because I didn't know how to use it. I like to draw a lot of my drawings within Procreate and then bring them over into Procreate Dreams. Drag it over and plop it into a new track. And I could technically hit each keyframe. I'm going to hit this handy dandy record button, and I'm going to come up and I'm going to come down. So when I go to play it, it keyframes it all for me. This has been a time saver for me as well. Number 3, filters. It's just an underutilized tool. It's so much easier than having to guess at it. So my favorite right now is opacity. If I wanted to bring his eye and say, instead of it going from right off to on, I want it to come in. I'm going to hit filter, and you can do this with Gaussian blur, sharpening, noise, and then HSB is coloring. But I'm going to go with opacity because I want it to fade in. I'm going to set this at 0. I'm going to come over here and I'm saying my other keyframe is here at 100. It's going to populate it for me. And it's going to have a fade in. Gives it a little bit more of a dramatic effect, but this has also been helpful with text or if you want to have it faded in. As always, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below. Leave a comment of what you want to see next, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much.